And joining me is filmmaker Graham Streeter, who is in town for a couple of days doing some work on a film called Normal Folk. Graham, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you found yourself to come to Normal to work on this project.
Well, I'd written a script already, and I didn't have a proper title for it yet. And I was looking for a town name that would actually have an irony to the whole concept of the film itself. And someone jokingly asked if certain different names were taken or whatever, and Normal came up, and we kind of looked at each other like, I don't know. And so we Googled it, and lo and behold, Normal Illinois came up, and it kind of just became what it was.
Yeah, it'd be different if it were like Bridgeport Folk or something like that. So
yeah. There's a movie for that too, I'm sure, but it's not this one.
Well, tell us a little bit. The theme, or at least the play on Normal there, deals with autism, and this is something that is, there's a lot of talk about autism nowadays. In fact, there are some people that even feel that autism is becoming a blanket sort of overdiagnosis, but people who have different forms of autism certainly have different ways in interacting with the rest of the world. Some of them highly functional, some of them not as functional. How did you come to find this as the subject of what you wanted to talk about?
Well, we live in the same world, and I too was being bombarded, have been and continue to be bombarded with the idea of autism on the rise, and it's normally associated with children, newborns, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, and the whole transition between this seemingly normal child and then the kind of a regression. Sometimes they're born and they're clearly on the autistic spectrum when they're born as well. So there's a lot of focus on children and youth and autism, and they're getting older and they're becoming a part of our high school system and in our 20s and onward. But nowhere did I get any information about autism in the adult stages. And you imagine it might have been around, right? And matter of fact, people like Einstein and Emily Dickinson and people like that whose brains have been studied later on and have proven to be part of the autism spectrum themselves. So it's clear that there are adults out there with autism. So my focus was on just that. I started researching. I did about 3 serious years of research, and I tell you, I preface this by saying, for every day that I studied, I learned that I know less every day. It's a very complex situation. But I knew that because there was so little information on the autism, in the autism world regarding adults, that would be an area that I would focus my story. So in fact, it is a story about a mature woman in her 70s who rediscovers herself by being in the company of someone younger than her with autism.
Now, when you were looking into learning more about people that had been functioning with autism, you actually came to the attention that there was somebody that was right here in Normal that you thought maybe would be good to be at least to interview or to learn more about for your movie. Tell us a little bit about Marty Murphy. She lives here in Normal.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a better candidate for me as a writer. Also, I wrote the piece. Whenever you try to get into the mind of an autistic person, it's usually the parent or someone closer to them saying, oh, well, they feel this way or they feel this way, and that's why they're doing it. But you don't get a firsthand inner dialogue explanation. It's very rare that you find a person who has autism who's able to articulate clearly enough what they were thinking or what they are experiencing when they're having a meltdown, for example, or it's just agitations or different things like that that we just look at from the outside and we can't figure out what's going on in their mind. Marty has that ability. She's incredibly articulate. Granted, 6 years ago, she was nonverbal completely.
She didn't speak at all 6 years ago.
She was signing most of the time those days. Outside of her own little world, she would find it a little bit too much for her, and it was easier just to say nothing at all than to communicate. So when I wrote the story, I was like 90% done. I came to Normal because of the town Normal, and I had met and befriended a lot of people in the autism community via email. Got here, and by chance, I was introduced to Marty Murphy from her support group within her life, and I had written a male character around 40 years old, and after about a day of meeting Marty, I knew that I had to change it to a girl. And I had enough I had enough access to her mind through her language to say that was it. I could pull her mind. I could learn it enough to know inherently how my character is thinking and acting, which is that was important as a director to understand who this person is.
So you wanted to use her perspective to inform what it was you were doing.
Yeah.
What did she think about this? I mean, when you went to Marty and said, "Hey, I would like to talk to you a little bit about this. I'm making a movie." Was this something that appealed to her?
I think, we've talked about this a lot. It's scary. It's something outside of the normal, that she would be doing on a daily basis. Routine and predictability is a huge part of the comfort zone for her. And this is a huge open box of variables. But she's a brave person. And she knows that this kind of uncharted territory is nothing but growth for her. I think she does it. I think she's willing to be in the film and to participate in this whole exercise, not so much because she wants to be a movie star by any chance, such an imagination. She wants to be able to help others who have autism, families and kids and adults who have it or know someone in their life. And by having her be able to participate and to give anything on any level, it's worth it to her.